My name is Carolyn Tuft. I am a survivor of a mass shooting that happened in 2007 in Salt Lake City, Utah. I took my youngest daughter, Kirsten, to go buy Valentine's at the mall. From the time that we parked the car and were in the store, it was 3 minutes until Kirsten was dead. On that day, on February 12th, 2007, both of my girls and I had planned to go after school to go buy Valentine's. But we specifically wanted to go to Trolley Square because it's a historic mall that I grew up going to. It was like the place to go make memories. You know, it's not just a mall, but it was the place where on my birthdays, I'd go get ice cream with my dad or just make a new memory. And they have a lot of really funky, fun shops, and it's an old trolley barn, so it's just not your typical mall. Kate was supposed to be at work at 6:30. We were late as usual, and I dropped her off at 6:35 because I looked at the car clock in the car, and I was like, "Hurry, you're late." She got out of the front seat. Kirsten got out at the back and hopped in the front next to me. We got on the freeway, drove to Trolley Square, got off the freeway and parked the car right there in that corner spot and walked in. And when I parked the car, I looked at the clock again, and it was 6:44. We walked into the mall, and as we were walking in, we heard a shot. And we paused for just a second, and it was like, whoa, that sounded like a gunshot. But it didn't make any sense. Like, why would there be a gunshot in the mall? When we walked into Cabin Fever, she started looking at these funny gum packets for Scott and Kate, her siblings, and as we walked in, we heard another gunshot. Everything happened so fast. Then I walked over to the window to see what that was, and everybody ran to the other side of the store, which was tiny, and laid on the floor behind the card racks, and I didn't know what was going on still, so I turned around and was like, what's happening? And Kirsten said, "Get down, Mom." That's the last thing she ever said to me. The kid came in, he walked in the door and just started shooting all of us. He shot me first, shot the back of my arm off, shot Kirsten in the back. But the weird thing about it was by the time we parked the car at 6:44, at 6:47, she was dead. 3 minutes. And it felt like an eternity. I was shot 3, 2 at point blank range. When I was shot, the back of my arm, when that was shot, it threw me down because it shot out my lung also. And so I was laying on the floor on my stomach, choking on my blood. And I looked up and I saw Kirsten laying there and started dragging myself across the floor on my stomach to get to her. And he came back in the store and shot everybody point blank. So he pushed the gun in my low back and shot me there, and then he put the gun on the side of everybody else's head. Yeah. Right on their head. I was in the hospital for just under a month, and I was in shock trauma and then the intensive care. I had 7 surgeries, and they were all reconstructive surgeries and life-saving surgeries. The back of my arm was shot off, and it destroyed my ulnar nerve, which just goes down your hand. So my hand was numb, and my whole arm hung like just a limp rag. And it also blew out my lung, so they had to patch my arm. They had to take the skin off my leg and recreate my arm with it. And put my lung back together, and then my low back, where he shot that, the hole was as big as a roll of toilet paper or a small cantaloupe. They said you could drop a small cantaloupe into my back, and so they left that open for 3 weeks because they didn't know how to close it because everything was just missing and they didn't know what to do with it. I have over 300 pellets inside me, in my vital organs, in my spine, in my lung, in my liver, in my kidney. It would kill me if they tried to dig all of those out. The minute I walked in the door when I came home from the hospital, life was completely foreign from what we knew. And I was this strong mom who they looked up to and played with, and now I was debilitated. I was disabled. I couldn't use my arm. I could barely walk. I was a broken person. And my kids needed a mom. They were damaged because their mom had just been shot. Their sister had just been murdered. So they needed a mom. But I wasn't able to be a mom for them. So they had to take over the mom duties, and they were just barely hanging on. And I wasn't able to work to provide a living for my kids. So, I was concerned, how am I going to bring groceries into the house? How am I going to provide a living for my kids? It was terrifying to be a single mom and not have any way to provide for the ones that were still there. Kirsten's bedroom was next to mine, and it was quiet. I was so used to hearing her stereo on next door. I was so used to hearing her TV on. So, it was always like this noise in the house. And now there's this silence where the noise was. Every day brought a new set of problems. Every day brought a new medical issue for me, or a new medical bill, or just some new thing we had to navigate, more hoops we had to jump through to try to get some help somewhere. I didn't have any insurance, so trying to get Medicaid and Medicare was an enormous pain in the tush. It took 7 years of fighting and jumping through hoops and filling out forms and getting lawyers until I finally got denied 3 times and then went before a judge. When you're applying for disability, shooting victim isn't one of the boxes you can check, and shooting victim by itself is not a thing, but it should be, because it breaks you. It breaks you emotionally. It destroys your health, and my health is depleted. It's deteriorated every year since then. Lead absorbs into your bones like calcium. It assimilates it the same, but lead breaks down the bones. And so my bones just throb all the time. That's kind of been my thing now, is everybody knows about trolley, everybody hears about shootings, and again, you hear about the deaths and the death count, and sometimes you hear about the count of the injured. You never hear about what happened to the injured. You never hear about what happened to their lives. Where did they go? Are they okay? All those families that have been destroyed, you don't hear about them, and nobody wonders about them. Do you ever say, I wonder what happened to those people that got shot? I wonder where they are. I wonder if, do you ever wonder where their families are or what happened to their families? We don't. But the fact is, they're destroyed, and it's happening so much now that we are all vulnerable, we're all at risk, and we all have to be part of the solution. We all have to not be apathetic. We all need to call our legislators and be part of making safer gun legislation. But every day I wake up and it's like Groundhog Day, where I feel hopeless and dark and I can't take the pain one more day. And it's hard to keep moving some days. But I was going to say also, it's made me want to focus on creating a kinder world. If we were a kinder society, we wouldn't need guns and people wouldn't think they needed guns. You know, and that's my hope, is to teach kids. I think if we started teaching kids from this little, within 2 generations, we wouldn't have a society where there was discrimination or the need for guns. And I don't know how to do it, but I do believe that's where we need to start. To other survivors, hang in there, because I understand how rough it is, but there is always something to look forward to. None of us ever thought we'd be part of this. I could say I was probably guilty of being apathetic when anything that had to do with guns came on the news, or if somebody would have invited me to a meeting about gun activism, you know, or safe gun legislation, I probably wouldn't have gone, because guns didn't pertain to me. I didn't own guns. I didn't live around guns. My kids were good kids, so like, I would have never thought it would happen to me. And then I go shopping for Valentine's. It'd be nice if people got out of their comfort zone and became part of the solution collectively. Let's get real. There's a problem, and it's an American epidemic, and it's time we solve the problem.